I mean, especially for annual. Now, I know it sounds crazy, but we don't have this here. Certain states will have some counties within the state, so just little pockets, right? Usually around big cities. You know, think of your New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Albuquerque. You get the deal, right? Those will have maybe emissions testing. So, for example, I live just outside of Chicago. I don't have this. There is no inspection at all like this, no matter how old the vehicle is. And there's not even emissions testing. Now, if I lived in Chicago proper, they would have emissions testing every year. And so they test your exhaust, make sure the smog levels are at an acceptable rate. And, you know, it's not smoking and polluting like crazy. But that's it. They don't have this like straight up like multi-point inspections. If that exists in the U.S., I'm not sure, but it's never been something I've had to encounter. And jokes aside, my vehicles, a couple of my older ones might not pass.
As you can see, for example,
they drive good, but they're just not
exhaust
perfect.
System, brakes, tires, wheels, bonnet, registration plates, lights, windscreen wipers,
seat belts, fuel system.
body, fuel
Damn,
system,
they go through
and much
everything.
more. Checking body, vehicle structure, and general items includes that they are free from excessive corrosion or damage in specific areas.
Wow, okay. I mean, this kind of makes sense. You don't want to drive around a car that's damaged, right? Again, I'll put funny pictures on the screen if I can find some. I straight up, you know, occasionally, not every day, but I will, see someone out in traffic here in the good old US of A. There will be someone with the car smashed in on, you know, the front or back or on the sides, whatever. But if it's drivable, they're driving it. I don't know the story. I've, never known someone that's done that, but I've seen it. So clearly they don't take that too seriously here. Corrosion, boy, now if you live in the southern U.S., this isn't really a problem. But unfortunately here in the Rust Belt, they call it, Illinois, for example, just salts the living heck out of the roads. Straight up overkill status. And so if you don't take care of your car, it will start rusting out after a few years. I've seen trucks, that are 5, 6, maybe not 5, but let's say 6 or 7 years old, which I think is still pretty new. A 6-year-old vehicle is not that old. But of course, to have rust on something that's 6 years old is wild. So that would be a problem. If you can't have rust on the vehicle to some extent, that's very strict. Wow.
And there are no sharp edges likely to cause injury.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You
don't want to have it racked and have a fender sticking out that can cut people literally walking by in a parking lot. That makes sense. I get that.
For secureness, condition, inappropriate repairs, or modification. The MOT tester will also check that the 13-pin electrical socket is working correctly, the speedometer is in good working order, the engine mountings are secure. The fuel system will be inspected to check that there are no leaks. The pipes and hoses are secure and in a good condition. The fuel cap fastens and seals securely. You should make sure that the key is available as the fuel cap will need to be opened. The vehicle will be inspected.
Key for a fuel cap.
Depending on the...
I wonder what he means. Do some cars have keys to open the fuel door? Or does he mean like key to get in a car, which I think would be standard anyway?
Age and fuel type of the vehicle.
And maybe you have to pop open the fuel door? I don't know.
To check that it meets the rules for exhaust emission. Diesel vehicles. The MOT tester will refuse to test your vehicle if they think that the smoke tests any damage your engine.
What does that mean? Smoke test may damage your engine, what, on diesels?
You should tell them at the start of the MOT if you think this may happen. To reduce the possibility of damage and increase the chances of passing, you should keep your vehicle maintained at all times. Have the camshaft drive belt replaced at the recommended intervals. Go for the MOT with a fully warmed up engine.
That makes sense,
It will produce less smoke and is safer to test.
Always,
and not tamper with the
warm.
governor settings. The exhaust system will be inspected to check that it's secure and complete. A catalyst isn't missing where one was fitted as standard. It's without serious...
Yeah, do y'all have that problem? Thankfully, knock on wood, it's never happened to me or anyone close to me, but I read stories on the news or whatever over the years where it seems like it comes in phases. I think it has to do with pricing, right? Black market pricing or junkyard prices for certain materials, but sometimes there will be like a huge wave of people starting their car in the morning and it's really loud and they're like, what the heck? And they find out that someone stole their catalytic converter from underneath the vehicle. They had to cut it out and they stole it. And, of course, the thieves go and sell it and make a good amount of money. I mean, there's lots of interesting things in converters, right? Platinum, and amongst other things. Do you guys ever have issues like that? I suppose, crappy people can exist anywhere on Earth, so, maybe. But, yeah, you don't want to be operating without that. Even here in the U.S., you could get in trouble for not running a converter. I mean, you're supposed to have that on there. It's just some people get away with not.
Leaks and not too noisy.
Yeah, they don't care about the noise here. I've had really loud cars. I admit it when I was younger. But if other than that, I see loud cars or hear them drive by the house every day. I mean, obnoxiously loud.
Be inspected to check that the mandatory seatbelts are in place. They are suitable for the vehicle. They are in a good condition. They work properly. They are attached securely. The malfunction indicator lamps or dashboard warning lights will be checked for the airbags, seatbelt, which remove the slack from a seatbelt in the event of a collision, seatbelt load limiters, which release a small amount of belt when it's too tight. Seats.
I mean, this part's kind of nice. It actually kind of gives you some reassurance, like the important things, like the airbags and seatbelts work, because I'll be honest, right? I don't know. I really wouldn't even know how you test a seatbelt. Like, that's the one part of cars I guess I'm not familiar with as like a lifelong car guy. That I've never had a seatbelt tested or airbags really. So
this will be inspected.
That's kind of nice having that peace of mind.
The seat can be adjusted. All seats are securely fitted, and that seat backs can be fixed in the upright position. Doors will be inspected to check that the latch is secure in the closed position. The front doors open from inside and outside the vehicle. The rear doors open from outside the vehicle. Hinges and catches are secure and
Boy, that could be a problem with some older cars too. I mean, I think, at least in the U.S., I think we've all had, like, you buy older vehicles and there's always that one door that might not open all the time. Like, sometimes it doesn't unlock like the other doors with the power locks and such. So even something as simple as this, I wonder would you fail the test just because of one of these, or is it just kind of like a minus some points on the receipt? I don't know.
In good condition. Mirrors will be inspected to check for the minimum number of mirrors, their condition and security. Indirect vision devices will also inspect it. The vehicle will be inspected to check that the boot or tailgate can be closed properly. Brakes will be inspected to check their condition, including inappropriate repairs or modifications, their operation and performance, the wheels and trims.
Yeah, this makes sense. I mean, that's the most important part of the vehicle, honestly. Let's get real.
As a part of the test.
Definitely want your brakes working.
The anti-lock braking system and electronic stability control. Tires and wheels will be inspected to check for condition, security,
and your tires,
tire size
actually.
And type, tread depth. Spare wheels and tires are not inspected. Registration plates will be inspected.
Now, how's this work? How do these tests work when it comes to, like, let's say wheels and tires and exhaust? Like, are you allowed to run aftermarket exhaust that's, say, slightly louder than stock? I'm sure like straight pipes from the engine back is not allowed because that's usually going to be way too loud on any vehicle. But, how's that work when you're dealing with aftermarket parts? Or, what if you have some kind of more aggressive tires and some aftermarket rims or wheels rather that might have some offset and stick out a little bit? Like, how's that work? I know that probably can vary depending on the country, I would imagine.
Expected to check for condition, secure attachment, color, characters correctly formed and spaced. Lights will be inspected to check their condition, operation including high intensity discharge and light emitting diode, the headlamps for cleaning, self-leveling and security, headlamp aim, main beam warning light working. Bonnet will be inspected to check that it closes securely. Wipers and washers will be inspected to check that they work properly so the driver has a clear view of the road. The windscreen will be inspected to check for condition, the driver's view of the road. Horn will be inspected to check that it works properly, it's suitable for the vehicle. Steering and suspension will be inspected to check their condition, steering oil level, they work correctly. For inappropriate repairs or modification, including corrosion to power steering pipes or hoses, and that the steering lock mechanism works properly. The vehicle identification number will be on vehicles first used on or after 1st August 1980. Your car will be inspected to check that a single